Welcome to Real Life Without Excuses. I am America's Supermom.
Yeah, I love how we had our own fall festival. Whenever, that was just too funny. That was fun.
Recognize who you are, what you'd like to see in your life, and who you'd like to partner with.
I love that. And, that's coming from a place of power.
She makes. I have written with women who have been through things I could not even imagine. You can tell the old story. Don't dwell on the old story because most of your friends are not trauma counselors.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy new month. Happy new week. I'm so excited for us being halfway through, right? We're in the middle of the second quarter. It's amazing how fast time flies. I'm already kind of like the end of the month because my daughter graduates this month. So and it's a girl. So, it's like, I got to have this outfit for this and my nails and my hair and all this other stuff. It just keeps on adding up on top of celebrations and things like that. So I'm excited to be here today and excited about today's topic. So we're going to dive right in. So I am LaChelle, also known as America's Supermom, mother of 15 children. And I am a vitality coach. I help people to crush chaos, to transform it into clarity and confidence with a smile. I help them to really identify what their superpowers are so that they can really navigate through the chaos that happens in everybody's life and that they are able to continue to move forward in a positive way and accomplish their goals and aspirations. So I'm really excited to be here today. We have a wonderful panel talking about ways that we can identify our target audience in order for us to be more profitable. So with that being said, we're going to go over to you, Misty. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. I'm Mistilei from Campground TBD Publishing, and I'm out on the campground side today. And so this is my favorite place to be. Like I said, I'm with Campground TBD Publishing, and I help people publish the first time or the 10th time and use writing to get through goals and to goals. And I am very excited about this because I love working in alignment with people, and I think that's my key to profitability. So I'm excited to see how this show evolves and how other people increase their networking this way. So thank you. I love the question this week.
Love that. And over to you, Raschell. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'd like it to be a little bit warmer. I don't think we're getting summer this year. I think we're just going to go straight back into fall. There's no summer here in Canada.
I feel so bad for you, seriously.
Yeah, I'm still wearing a scarf, so that's kind of crazy. So, yeah. So as you all know, I'm Raschell Harlingten. I'm the founder of Roots for Success, where we look at transforming your life through understanding your blueprint, understanding who you are, recognizing what story you are telling. And at the same time, I love to share people's stories on my show called The Transformational Soul Talks, where your empowerment of your story leads to the transformation of your life. And as someone who has gone through many transformations, lots of challenges as a child and as a single mom, I can definitely relate to many of the life challenges that have transformed my life. So very excited for today's show. Ready to just dive right in.
I love it. So we're going to bring our panel on because we've got some great guests with lots of different backgrounds. And I think the conversation is just going to be one that I believe resonates with a lot of us, when we're thinking about our identifying our target audience, and as I was saying before we hit record, sometimes if we're not talking to the right audience, we will change and morph into something else that we don't recognize because we're thinking something's wrong with us rather than realizing, is this even the person that I need to be talking to, right? Are they the right audience for me? So I think this is a great topic. So we are just going to dive in to talking about how do you first decide who your target audience is? You know, what are some things that we can do to kind of get a little clarity around that conversation? So we're going to go over to you, Aubrey. We'll have you answer that first. Share a little bit about who you are and what is your take on that question.
So my name is Aubrey Baptista. I'm the founder of Kindred Art Therapy. I work with a bunch of different people really and helping them to feel more confident in themselves, to manage anxiety, depression, overwhelm in the state of North Carolina is where I'm licensed. And I specifically work from the lens of building creativity and helping them to be able to build their self-confidence through the art making process. And I'd say that I'm still narrowing down who are my target audience and who are the people that I most resonate with. And I think that part of this is a process of elimination, right? And I've worked with this one specific target audience for a really long time with teenage girls and their families. And so I have been marketing to them for the longest time. And I'm starting to question that a little bit because those are not necessarily the people that I'm finding myself most attracted to now at this point in my journey. And so I'm starting to think about a shift and starting to think about, okay, well, who am I most attracted to and who is most attracted to me? And then starting to get really real about the process of transitioning away from who I thought I should be working with versus, you know, who really are the best fit for me.
I love that. Now, so what are some things that, you know, and I was talking to somebody earlier about how your brand kind of goes through an evolution, right? You might start off and you just kind of have this tunnel vision and, you know, people start saying, well, do you do this? And do you do that? And then before you know it, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff that you had never started out doing. But what are some of the signs that you're thinking or you're encountering that's having you kind of question modifying who that audience is that you're serving?
I'd say the biggest thing is like when I am with a client and how I feel with that client, or even like if I'm anticipating that session, like if I'm excited for that session and if I'm excited for the things that we're going to talk about, and if they feel like they're showing up and they're engaged and we're really like getting into it and that feels helpful and productive and it feels like we're making traction, like there's specific types of clients that I'm finding that they're the ones that is working well for, versus like for me specifically, what I'm running into is when I'm working with other types of clients, some teens, it's okay. I'm working really well with them. And those are the teens that I've always worked well with. But it's not like all the teens I work really well with. There's some teens that like, if they're not as motivated, if they're more quiet or withdrawn, like there's clinicians that work really well with those teens, but I don't necessarily work as well with those teens. And so realizing that, you know, if I'm not working as well with a client, they're not necessarily going to tell me that. They're probably going to phase out of sessions and treatment. They're probably just not going to show up anymore. They're going to decide that we're not a good fit and just break it off. And so now at this point, I'm almost a year into business. What I'm realizing is that the people who fit the best are the ones who are sticking around the longest.
Love that. Love that. All right. So we're going to go over to Ashton because you've got so many medals and achievements behind you. So it would seem that you would be a great person to kind of talk about the target audience and who you're serving. So what are your thoughts on the topic?
You know, my friend gave me a quote, acceptance brings a quiet mind, which is the answer to your problems or my problems. And I think for me, it means a lot. You know what I mean? To be able to have a target audience. For me, my target audience would be people who are in the sports arena, corporate audiences, you know, narrowing that down, school districts and colleges for me, and corporate bodies. So being able to work with a genre of people, even to this day, I work with the homeless even. So I think when you can scale up, that means a lot. And just, you know, being able to have the right people to tell you the right directions. And I think for me, I've been able to have that in my life and have people tell me that, you know, you have the voice for it, you have what it takes. So let's find your target audience. In fact, that was a project. That's why this is a great topic. That was a project that we're working on, is to narrow down and find my target audience. And that's what we came up. For me, that may be a little different for most people, or for, you know, each person. But once you find that target audience, now you can start to create the things you need to and get that out to companies. And that's exactly what I did. I actually signed a contract with a management company, which is good because it'll allocate a lot of resources to land me in the places I need to be and collaborate with people like you guys. Because I'm under contract, I'll be able to collaborate with people. It'll help me to also find bigger target audiences even outside of Texas. So the goal is to be able to go outside of, you know, my community and where I live, if that makes sense. That makes sense to you?
Yeah. Now, so, you know, I have a question, another follow-up question, because, you know, you're an athlete and you've achieved a lot of accomplishments based on your own skill set, right? So when you think about that, you know, that's like something you're doing on your own as an individual. How do you transition to speaking to groups about something that you're used to doing by yourself? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I would say for me, I have a book, right? And when you have a book, right, this allows you to get into school districts, right? Get into, this is what school districts told me to do, right? Write a book. Let the public know your story, because then you can put that on the back table at the school district, on the back table at the meetings. Now you have a literal business card, because you go into a meeting and now you can pass this out to the school board, to those who say, okay, we want you to speak here, but about what? Then you turn over the back of your book and here are things you can speak about on the back. Lessons I've learned, people I talked to, goals I achieved, that kind of thing. What's the title? Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream. Those school districts and those people know that either you want to talk about helping people with their dreams, helping people accomplish their dreams in other ways, whether that be helping people get out of poverty or talking about the inefficiencies of people not being able to learn about money, or etc. So all of those things can lead to topics, and my book has topics and stuff that people can learn about. And I think going into these school districts with something that's already written and together, that helps them to really, really understand you as the person. And that's why my folks told me to go out and write a book, because no one really, honestly, truly, if you're doing an individual sport, it's even harder. And swimming's an individual sport, and there's not very many African-American people that do it anyway. So, you know, I've been blessed in my life to be able to swim in a great state like Texas. You know, there's not a lot of Black people, let's be real, that do it. And it has changed my life. And it has allowed me to write a book about my story. And I tell people to go out there and get that book. Walmart and Amazon, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream. I hope to get my book and my story to more people. I was listening to a lady just on your podcast here that deals with books and writing. That allows me to collaborate with people. Why? Because I have an LLC. These are all things that you have to have a solid foundation so that people take you seriously. If you don't have an LLC or something that says doing business as, well, then how can the school districts do business with you? How can corporate, you know, America, let's be real, do business with you if you don't even have what is on paper? And I think my target audience will understand that I'm serious. I am serious about doing public speaking. I've done it for over 20 years for the Special Olympics. I was an athlete in their program, but I also articulate. I speak well. and I was featured in ESPN, Swim Magazine, NBC5, and these things. But I tell people my disability, I never used it as an excuse. And I think for me, because of that, I'm in America and I can monetize all that I have. And that's what I tell people. Communicate not only with your mouth, communicate with your hands so that America knows you're serious. And when I was up there speaking in front of corporate people that, you know, are multimillionaire type people, you have to be serious and be able to let people know with laughter. Sometimes you got to have a little laughter in there, but let them know I want to make a living, right? I want to make a living in all that I do. And for me, I'm grateful for the Special Olympics, but it's time to make a living and to be able to monetize is the word of the day, monetization, to take my image and what I have done and make money from it. I'm 40 years old. So the good Lord told me, this is what you do. You speak well and you learn to do it right. I got rid of grammar issues, ebonics, or whatever you want to call that. And, you know, they didn't want that out here. I mean, I live in a state where, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's Republican-y out here. I mean, that's not even a word. It's going to be a word. You know what I mean? It's very, you know, so you have to clean that up because the school districts, they don't want you on stage, you know, talking that way because you can't, no one, you know, I told a lady, I said, hello, I don't understand what you're saying. So let's try that again. I didn't understand a word this lady was saying. And when you get on the news or television that's in front of millions of people, the green light cuts on and they're like, go. And you are up there and you are talking as white as you can. No, I said, I am going to do the best that I can. And I am going to articulate and speak to the best of my ability. It may not be the way you want, but I'm going to get the message out there. And NBC5 said, go. Go. TV is the biggest test that you can do for yourself.
Well, you
absolutely.
Know, what I'm hearing too is the fact that you are willing to understand your audience. I mean, that's another thing. What you're saying, you know, you knew who was listening and how to be presentable for that. So we're going to go to Janice. Janice, you know, talk to us about your target audience and, you know, what's coming up with you.
My goodness, following Ashton. Oh my gosh. Ashton, you rock. I'm going to float upstream instead of swim.
I love it. I love it.
Oh.
I reinvented the pillowcase. And so I now just got my patent in February, my utility patent. And I have to tell you, less than 13% of women get a utility patent. And I'm, you know, it was arduous. I saw, you know, Ashton, I understand the whole white privilege and then the, you know, the lottery ticket of the white male. I saw white men get utility patents hand over fist over me in the pillow category. And I'm a pillowcase. And I just, you know, and I'll show it to you. So I reinvented this for people who are sleeping upright, like in a geriatric chair, and just need head and neck support. And I invented it for my dad. You can see one right behind me. That was to help him when he fell asleep at the end of life. His neck would not be having neck pain because 80% of seniors have head and neck pain. And when you go to the question as our target market, early on, I thought, oh, seniors would recognize this and want to buy it. Well, no senior selected that they needed something that was sort of targeted for them. And I realized very quickly, like my target market are the adult children of seniors. And then my son was in college and he was reading books in bed. And I'm like, oh, that's also my target market. So really my target market are the caregivers, the moms, the dads who want to see a need and want their family loved ones to be comfortable. So that I quickly learned who my target market was within the first few months of creating my product. And like Ashton said, you know, you're always having to be out there and Aubrey's like, you know, trying to identify your niche. And I think once you identify your niche, then what's exciting about that is that you can take that niche and you can permeate into all the other areas. And that's been really fun for me to try to keep people in different industries and strategize with them. I love collaboration. I love strategic thinking. That's like my jam. And so when I'm like, frankly, everybody has a neck. And I think everybody who has a neck is my target market. So, we all deserve to be comfortable. And that's the one part of our body that rarely relaxes completely. So with my product, Tausi, of Tausi Brands, I am upending the travel pillow industry, those things around your neck, gone. I want to dominate. I want to be like the no more Mr. Pillow guy. Sorry for those who like his pillow product. Mine is like, it's a pillowcase. You can stuff it with that if you want. But again, his product will be hidden. My product will be out there. Oh. It's all about, personalizing, customizing your comfort. You can use it for lumbar support, head support, back, travel pillow. I used it on a plane. So all of the applications are up to you to be comfortable. And I challenge all of you to find unique places to use it. So far, it's been in a pickup. Those I don't know my construction equipment, but those digger things. A
backhoe.
It was relaxing in that with the Tausi.
Oh yeah.
So you can get comfy anywhere with Tausi.
I love that. Now so that brings up like another question that Misty had about having that comfort to self market yourself. And I love what you said about, hey, you're going to be out there. So, Edie, what are some things that you would say when we're thinking about having that confidence to speak out about what it is that, we are offering to the world or to our audience?
Yeah, I love that. I was just writing a thought about that, so that's perfect. Hi, I'm Edie. I'm the business craftswoman, and I help residential contractors get home in time for dinner by managing their people, processes, and projects. I'm essentially a fractional COO for people who that terminology resonates with more. And I love this conversation. And I think some hurdles to overcome to be comfortable self-marketing is shifting our mindset. I think we hear sales sometimes and cringe inwardly, especially as people who are out here wanting to serve, wanting to help people in a big way. I'm sure that if we could make a living without getting money for what we offer, we would do it because we're passionate about it. But a huge mindset shift for me was realizing that I have an obligation. If I truly believe in my service, or in the case of like Tausi or a product, if I truly believe my product or service can transform lives, I would be remiss to not get out there and to market and to talk to people who need this product. And so that was a huge mindset shift for me. And then once I kind of acknowledged that, there is a need for what I do, and it would be reprehensible of me to not say anything about it, niching down became kind of an exercise in embracing abundance over scarcity. So something that was hard for me at first was, if I niche, are there enough people who need what I offer? Will I be able to find them? All of that. But when I just took a deep breath, and it's an ongoing journey of rejecting scarcity and understanding there are almost 8 billion people in this world, and in this global economy, I can technically talk to most of them. Out of the 8 billion people, are there really not 3? Because really my client load is like 3 to 5 people a month. Are there really not 3 people in the whole world that can use my services? Obviously there are, and so I think reframing when those thoughts of scarcity come up, reframing that, and having data is so important. I'm an engineer by degree, so, I'm all about the data, but having the data to say, what do I need for this to be a viable option? And can the market support it? Which 9.999 times out of 10, it can, So I would say that in terms of marketing, understanding that the world needs the medicine I'm offering, and then niching down, rejecting that scarcity, embracing abundance. And also just remembering that just because on my website I mentioned residential contractors doesn't mean that plumbers or roofers aren't going to reach out to me, which is the case. I have people adjacent who are like, well, that is close enough and I need that help. let me reach out. But then the people who I 100% resonate with read my website and are like, I have to talk to you now. And so, yeah, it's like a win-win-win. Yeah, I guess those are kind of my thoughts on that.
I love that whole thing about the niching down and, overcoming that scarcity mindset, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. We feel like, oh my gosh, I got these bills that need to be paid. And so you think quantity rather than quality of a few people, and not really knowing clearly what those numbers are, not having that range to say, I just need 3 people a month. You know what I mean? So Kimberly, we're over to you, and whatever is coming up for you, please share.
Well, in response to Edie and some of the things that have been said, I want to first say, like Alex Hormozy, don't let me have to niche slap you. Okay. So, yeah, we got to niche down, guys, and we have to get rid of FOMO, fear of missing out. And because FOMO is a perspective that houses itself in scarcity. And Edie said, no, we're not about scarcity. We're about abundance. So from that perspective, a little bit about me. I empower faculty women to achieve tenure, get promoted, and get paid their worth without sacrificing their personal relationships, their health, or their wealth. And that's really important because I stepped out of industry to do what I'm doing now because I had a big idea. There's a certain culture around faculty. In the university setting, there's a lot of tradition. And one of those is that you're not worth a whole lot till they award you tenure. You're not worth a whole lot unless you're this great citizen to the university. You're not worth a whole lot unless you have a certain rank. And so I had a big idea. My big idea was that faculty women who are in faculty positions, which is like 0.9%, full-time faculty positions, 0.9% of the population, are already successful by virtue of securing those faculty positions. They have value. They're not just valuable or successful when they achieve tenure or get promoted. I also wanted to think about and advocate for pay equity for women in all circles, but in my niche, particularly in academic circles. And so thinking about that, I think we talked about profitability. And one of the biggest ways to profitability is identifying your ideal client. We got to shape our service. We got to market our service, not around me and all my degrees and what I know, but around their needs. And someone said earlier today on LinkedIn, and if you don't really know what your service is, how do you do that? Well, one of the things is I got to learn about their needs. We have to learn about their needs. So I say, do the market research, do those focus groups, do those coffee chats, put polls up on LinkedIn, put out formal and informal surveys. You can put a survey on your website. You can just a poll. People, for some reason, the LinkedIn algorithm loves polls. Put out a poll. Started out with, help me out. I want to serve you. I want to serve you better. I saw a quote today that just really rocked me from Janice Bryan Howard. She says, you can get everything you want out of life if you just help enough other people to get what they want out of life. So in order to best serve my folks, I got to know what they need. I have to really, really get down in the trenches and take on their mindset, right? See it from their eyes. But if I'm up here thinking about this is what I want to do, how will I ever do that? I think about what Janice says, and I just think, wow, absolutamente. But I get excited. I break into Spanish. I'm sorry. I got excited.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Excelente, LaChelle. So, yes. Niche down, folks. So I said faculty women. Honestly, if I say faculty women, that could be a whole lot of people, couldn't it? So I call my ideal client Sarah. Sarah is a female nursing faculty member who is an assistant or associate professor because they are seeking tenure and or promotion. She's expected to be a good teacher, a productive scholar, and well-rounded servant and citizen to the organization. She's working 14 to 18 hours a day to meet her work-related expectations. And she has no time for recreational activities, her personal relationships. Many Sarahs delay having children. And she spends the time in between semesters where people think that faculty have so much freedom preparing for the next semester. And she's not quite sure, because she thinks she doesn't have value, if she'll actually get tenure or be promoted, despite all she's doing. So I'm always thinking about Sarah and how I can serve Sarah. Niching down.
I love that. Raschell, you're up. I don't know. You're still muted.
No, I was actually going to say, this is funny. This is a really good topic. And I remember Munir Zahabi saying to me that, and she's called the Niche Navigator, and she came on my podcast, and she said that you have to figure out what people need. Once you figure that out, then everything else works for you. Because like she said, with the nail file, there's like 8 billion people and 4 billion are women. She said, somebody in the 4 billion is going to need that nail file. So you've just basically got to find that niche where you're going. So I just been watching the comments here. And one of the main thing that Mary keeps asking here is, what is your worth? So maybe you guys would like to kind of answer that question. What is your worth?
Mm-hmm.
You go ahead, Ashton, you want to start?
For me, I have always felt somewhat in my life devalued because I am a person with a disability, and the Special Olympics, essentially, they kind of institutionalize you, and you are not valued in their organization. And I had to fight to even know my worth. I was not allowed to make money in the Special Olympics. I was not allowed to receive sponsorships or endorsements because they believe that disabled people don't have the right to money, resources, land, the right to marriage, all of these things that everybody else in America takes for granted. When I was an athlete in that program, I could not do. And so moving forward in my life, I fight to value my life for the right to be able to monetize my image, to do public speaking engagements, all of these things that people take for granted. Even the job you work, you are not allowed to work certain jobs in the Special Olympics. You're not allowed to be a public figure or representative. You're not allowed to do any of that unless it's for their program. You're not allowed to be a monetized public speaker. And for me, I've had to fight all of my life to tell people, one, I'm a person. I'm not 3/5 of a person. I'm not half of a person or a third of a person. I'm a whole person. And, in my state, you can Google it if you want to, Special Olympics, Texas, Confederate flag. Anybody can Google those things. But at the end of the day, that doesn't define who I am as a person. I'm working with a speaking coach right now, and he told me those things are the past, and now you let people know what you want to do now. And my goal is to do public speaking and to tell the world my story, and that we also should have the right to NIL deals. We should also have the right to get paid. I'm, almost 40 years old and have never been paid by the Special Olympics or financially compensated, helped in any way, shape, or form by their program. So I think you have to fight for your worth and never be told that you're not of value. And I was told that for 31 years, that my talent is of value, my talent, but not me, the person. I'm not of value to anybody in the Special Olympics, but my talents made them $91 million annually. And did I reap the benefits from that? No, but I reap the benefits by telling my story and telling society that you are a person, regardless of your disability, regardless of where you come from, regardless of the color of your skin, right? Even that, in many parts of this country, people are devalued simply for being Black, like me. There was a story done in the Fort Worth Weekly about my story regarding Mercy Culture Church, a church. And so I tell people every day, I will fight and tell the truth. I shall not waver from the truth. I should also speak and tell what is right. And if I tell what is right, that will lead society to always stand on the side of what is right. That is what my grandmother told me, regardless of the face of fear that you may live in. And I live in a state where you're not allowed to speak about certain things. You're not allowed to talk about racism or anything dealing with race, period. The governor of our state does not want that. And so at the end of the day, because of that, I have to fight 10 times as hard to live, to work, to have the same opportunities as everybody else, because I was told that I was not allowed to have the American dream. And the American dream for everybody on here is to be able to take care of their families and support themselves. And that dream in the Special Olympics was stripped from me, but now I have it back. And now I have a book, and I am able to, make something of myself, because you're not allowed to write books in the Special Olympics. You're not allowed to do anything like this. And I did this when I got out of that program, to tell society that I will never, ever be monetized or financially exploited in any way, shape, and form, that I shall move forward and become somebody and tell my story for all the days of my life, and tell my story with honesty and truthfulness and with facts. And that's why I wrote my book, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream, because I really was, guys, swimming upstream for 31 years, working 18-hour days, 7 days a week. Sometimes I would sleep 4 hours a day. And I would swim hours on end with no pay, no money, no food. I was forced to pay for transportation and all of these things. But I know that now I can overcome that. And now I'm in a better place, because, hallelujah, I signed a contract with a management company, and now my life can take off financially, because I shall never have these things happen all the days that I live. I hope that makes sense to y'all with all seriousness.
Love that.
Wow.
Absolutely. That's powerful.
That is powerful.
Ooh.
Look that up. Google me, Ashton Smith Special Olympics. You'll see me on the internet. I told somebody, when $91 million is made off of your image, and it has people living in mansions and not you, that's a problem. When you're on ESPN, that's a problem, while someone else is enriched off of your talents. Special Olympics became enriched off of my talents, and every other athlete, not just me. I'm doing this for every disabled person on the planet, because we have the right to make money, and we have been told for decades that we are not people, that we are cargo. We are not cargo. We are people like everybody else. We may not have the college education like people. I don't have a college education, but I speak better than most people in college. And I've never had English preparatory classes. I just listened to an old white 70-year-old man every day. And that's what I did, and listened to him over and over until my English became right.
Amen.
Makes sense.
Awesome. Somebody was speaking and I didn't hear.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kimberly. You're muted.
Yeah, I unmuted myself. So I was taught at the VA to never say you're muted. We're just saying, if you're speaking, I can't hear you.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So Ashton, you really, really touched my heart. And so thank you for that. And I see the comments popping, everyone. And you know me, I love to respond to a comment. But if I put up another browser, it creates an echo. So that's why I'm not responding to comments and doing that live. But we'll get to that later. Yet you asked, what is our worth? You know, it took me a lot of years to understand, to realize my worth. My dad taught us, well, first of all, my middle name is Bonita, but we couldn't speak Spanish, so we could be very American, all of that, because we are not as good as. And so my parents taught, you must be much, 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 much better than. And so my whole life I was driving to prove how much better I am, having a resume that was triple, double everyone else in the room that sat with me. And recruited to the southern part of the United States because they wanted someone with my credentials who had the national standing that I had. But when I got here, they were like, oops. Oh, no, we don't want to hear her. We don't want to see her. What is she talking about? So I was told, be quiet, do your work. Don't speak up. Don't do these things. And you will be recognized by your good work. Guess what, guys? I learned that's not true. If you don't, I advocated for many a person, but if you don't advocate for yourself, you can't have a well-lived life. You must service is wonderful, and I truly believe in it, but you must also be able to have your own voice and advocate for yourself. So what is my worth? I just think about recently, despite all the obstacles thrown at me, people saying you can't write this grant proposal. Give us your idea, we'll write it. All the different things, and I could go on and on and on, what it's like to be a woman in the male-driven academic traditional world, what it's like to be a woman of color. And then see, my dad, I'm the only non-engineer of my generation in my family, Edie. And my parents were very upset when I decided not to be an engineer, and I didn't understand it. You cannot be a nurse, they said. You cannot do that. What my dad didn't say is, if you become a nurse, you're going to become a triple minority. You're going to be a woman, you're going to be a person of color, and you're going to be a nurse. It's too much. He didn't say it. I wish he could have just said it to me. And so it took many years for me to realize the value and worth. And so now I think if I was able to achieve the highest of what you do in academia, despite all of those barriers, obstacles, and just bombs thrown in my way, my God, I must be good. I must have a whole lot of worth. Because I never thought, oh, that's going to stop me. I thought, oh, well, let me figure another way to do that. Let me go around them. Let me write at night, though they've given me the highest teaching load they can. Let me just write at night. Let me go out into another meeting and find someone to be on a research team, develop my own research team. Let me write grant proposals on the weekends. Now, made me an overworker, as someone who finally was for my good said to me. Yet it also taught me we act despite fear. We don't stop moving ahead and helping others and ourselves because of barriers. We just look for a way around. And when you're so busy looking for a way around, you don't get that downtrodden and depressed and upset. Because somewhere in you, even though you can't voice it yet, you know, I must be good. I am so good. And thank you for all these gifts, God, because you have given them to me.
Amen. That's awesome.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
Did you want to go ahead?
Who did you ask?
I think it was Aubrey.
Aubrey.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question that you bring up for me, because I, again, in the first year of private practice that I'm in, my worth is being dictated to me. So when you're a clinician and you go into private practice, what we've run into now is insurance companies telling us this is how much you're worth, right? And the insurance companies vary based on which one you're paneled with. But in terms of the clients, right, there's a huge need out there for therapy. And the clients are going to their insurance companies to, you know, have the therapy covered. And so what we're running into is a lot of clinicians who are backing away from the insurance companies because they're not paying what they're worth. And then a lot of people not being able to afford care because it's just too expensive for them to get care. And a lot of children not being cared for because of caregiver burnout. So in terms of like the personal worth as a clinician, it's a really challenging question for me because, you know, a big part of the reason that I became licensed as a clinical mental health counselor was so that I can take insurance. Otherwise, like I'm a board certified art therapist. I could just work private pay as a board certified art therapist. So I'm not exactly answering the question, but I'm just more so pointing out that it's really challenging to step into this place of this is what I'm worth, and then think about how do I serve some of these populations that are in need when they can't necessarily pay what I'm worth. So I guess I'll just throw that back out there as a question.
Wow. Over to you, Edie.
Did you say, how do you serve? You know, I'm fortunate because I'm on a lot of, you know, I was on government, some government benefits, some I'm not. But Aetna, they have privatized a lot of this stuff through government insurance and through what they call the formulary sheets, where you can literally write in if certain medicines aren't on there or certain products like durable medical equipment, those things can be hand typed or written into the blank. As far as being able to pay doctors their worth, these privatized companies are going to have to step up to the plate and be able to also fight for doctors to be able to be paid their worth. Medicare can only take care of so many people. We have 56 million Americans who receive some form of government assistance or some form of Medicare. That system alone is not stable. It may not be here in the next 30 years. If you're my age, I'm 38, 37, and it won't be here. So those are things that the government through legislation, because you can't do it alone by yourself, and doctors can't do it alone. That takes going to the lobbyists and people saying, hey, we are such and such doctors associations and we want to unionize. And I think a lot of times people don't like the word unionize, but doctors and people who want to fight for their work, unions have been around for over 80 years in this country, even longer in some places, including New York. But those are ways that I think people can get insurance on the right footing and make sure that it's here for everybody. And the way that it is now, Medicaid is not accepted through many doctors. Republican states or other states, including Texas, did not want to take certain monies from the so-called government to shore up the benefits for people here in this state that can't get care because it's so expensive. That has to do with the politics over here, and that has to go when you have people who can't get care or can't even get to a doctor because they're in what I call a medical desert, a food desert. And all of those things go hand in hand with medical care in general. And doctors in general aren't going to the ghettos, to the hoods, to the whatever you want to call it, to take care of people. They go to the suburbs. White flight is a big thing, right? That happened, right? And so a lot of people fled to the suburbs because they paid better, allocated more resources to the suburbs. And that's why doctors make more money, whereas those resources begin to tail off in the major cities and stuff as they became criminalized and whatever else with some cities, meaning that they became vacant and buildings and this kind of stuff with the fleet of people leaving by foot or whatever. At the end of the day, those problems have to be solved in order for doctors to feel their worth. The people who get the services also must be paid well on the back end so that they can go to doctors over here and not just be relegated to what I call mass clinics where doctors are slammed with patients. That happens out here at a massive hospital called JPS Hospital, which is one of the largest county hospitals in this area. And it is horrific because people are waiting 5.5 hours sometimes for care. And the way we eliminate that is make sure that nurses have pay, and we make sure we take care of the people who are taking care of us and make sure that they have proper days off. We don't do that in this country, and we don't take care of people the way that they should and shore up that part of the sector, and you won't have so much turnover. Hopefully these problems and the things that I said today can help people solve these problems and governments come together and solve these issues. This is not a private issue. This is a government and private issue together. The private and public sectors must come together to make a better medical system and a more robust medical system for everybody. Hopefully that makes sense to you.
So back to like the question of how do I define what is my worth, or how do I define like how much, my services are being charged for and those types of things. It's like, well, if I charged what I think I'm worth, I probably wouldn't have my clients, is really what it comes down to for me.
Wow.
Right.
That's a very interesting point.
Because like if you break down in terms of like how much I owe in student loans for my education, including also the amount of supervision that I've gone under and paid somebody to be supervised in order to become who I am now with all of my degrees and credentials and everything else. And then I started to break that down into the number of clients that I see and the hourly rate and all of that. The amount that the insurance company like that they pay me, it's going to take me forever to actually, and I'll have to do the math and actually do some numbers on that to give you some accurate statistics on it. Right. But the government wants clinicians to work at a reduced rate in nonprofit organizations for at least 10 years so that we can have our student loans just completely forgiven after those 10 years. But if you work in those jobs, then you'll be completely burnt out at the end of those 10 years and you'll never want to be a clinician ever again if you make it that long, right? So it's that versus going into private practice where you may or may not be able to pay those loans off. Right. And then the question then becomes, well, why is nobody going into mental health?
Right. Wow. This could be a whole nother show.
And you can make money from that.
It's a challenging question when we start talking about what am I worth?
Yeah.
I love that.
And Raschell,
I think it is. Yeah, go ahead, Missy. I'm sorry to cut you off. I mean,
well, I was going to say, we kind of got on a separate topic, but to me, my worth is not necessarily my paycheck. And so, and this brings me back to writing, which is my passion, of course. So I would advise, my unsolicited advice to each of you that are talking about having trouble with the systems and the worth there is to keep writing a story past that blockage. If you were, getting paid what you think you should get paid, what would you be doing the next day? And start imagining that place where it's already, because eventually you'll find what the pillowcase lady found. You'll find a one solution, because you're trying to raise an 8 billion people ship right now. But eventually what I think you'll find in your caregiving, and just so you know, I have a 27-year-old son. I've been his 365-day caregiver his entire life. I have not left my driveway in 6 months. I am his caregiver. So I really understand what you're talking about that burnout, and I have to be very careful with that. So that's why I go with my worth. I don't get paid to care for him. I get, a little Social Security or, some monetary things I'm very grateful for, but I had to develop my worth. And that really is me selecting, you may only pay me $20 when I'm worth 50, but you will not speak to me differently. And so then you can go, if I'm only going to get $20, I will work with people I feel really resonating with, and I feel that I can grow and expand with. And so I just wanted to bring back, because I can feel all of your spirits in there, and also with you with your disabilities. My son has been bedridden his entire life. I am very aware of the discrimination for disabled people, and so it's an interesting panel for me to see, because I really feel each of you. And I just want to offer you to keep writing that story past that initial limitation that we're feeling. It's a real one. And living in America, it's a real limitation. But if you get stuck on that loop, I've got to fix the whole solution, you'll never actually find your pillowcase niche or your little thing that scoots. Whoever invented the little thing that helps me scoot my son across his bed, mwah. So that person was a caregiver somewhere, dragging a baby across a bed as they got older and over, and said, what we need is. So that's, keep writing that story, and your creativity will unlock that. So then you can market that thing, because that's what you're the most passionate about. And that's where that financial abundance is going to come back around and get that worth back to you. So I know no one asked for my advice, so let that fall to the ground if it wasn't for you.
I like what you said. It's the best
I
said
love
all
that.
day.
I love that. And I think, again, hours, it's not enough time, but I want to go around for us to say, what solution do you offer, and just to share that with everybody, as we conclude today, because again, we try to fit it all in, and this is just an opportunity for us to get the conversation on the table. And we've got quite a panel of people here that are live, but then also that are in the audience that are sharing their comments. So I encourage you all to use this as an opportunity to connect with each other and continue this conversation. I know Kimberly has a platform where she does lives, and Raschell has a podcast, and a lot of us have places where we're in front of different audiences that we can keep this conversation going, because this is what it's about. It's finding out, what are the needs, what are the gaps, what are the things that we can talk about, because we can also create solutions out of these conversations that we hadn't even ever thought about. So I love what everybody has shared. And so I want to start with Janice and then Edie, and we'll go around. So, thinking about today, for somebody who's watching, how would you lead them into knowing what problem they solve, or sharing your own problem that you solve? So over to you, Janice.
Well, foremost, thank you all for having me on. I just have to say, this has been such a valuable time. And I feel like I want to go continue this conversation at some kind of retreat, because it just feels so rich. And And honestly, your question, I have so many answers, but to be really brief, and wrap it up, I think knowing my worth enabled me to create my product and have the chutzpah to go forward. I was from nonprofit. I was somebody who went into nonprofit management because I could not get ahead with people who were my boss and kept telling me that I need to stay down. And nonprofit allowed me to rise faster. And to Kimberly, I always called myself the Colorado River. I would see an obstacle and I'm like, there's a boulder there. I'm going to go around, over, and under. I'm just going to keep going. So to all of us, let's just keep going, and to inspire other people to keep going when there's an obstacle in front of them, because sometimes we don't necessarily need help moving the obstacle. We just need someone to show us that there's a way around it.
Now, and then how do we get a hold of you with this product? Because that's another thing.
Oh, TausiBrands.com. Tausi means caring, is derived from a Samoan word meaning caring for, Tausimo. So TausiBrands.com. And for anybody who's listening, if you use the discount code HOUNDS, HOUNDS, I'm part of the Hounds Pack with Mike Asherbronner, and that's a great group on LinkedIn. I encourage you all to join that. There's a supportive niche on LinkedIn because we're niching down on LinkedIn people. So come join us and use that discount code HOUNDS, and you'll get $39 off your Tausi. And it's made in America by a woman-owned manufacturer. I can tell you all about these things. I found a family-owned business to make my zippers. So it's just a really keeping it small, keeping it local, and caring for people who are building this product.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here, Janice. And we look forward to more collaboration. So we're over to you, Edie.
Wonderful time on the panel. Yeah, just echo everything you just said, Janice. So I guess my parting words are leaning into that abundance again, and not just the abundance of money, but abundance of creativity, abundance of everything you need to develop your product. And I think once we admit and allow ourselves to believe that there is a story or a narrative after that obstacle, then kind of how you mentioned, Misty, it unlocks so much. I think that is often the biggest boulder, is us not believing that we can get around it or that there will be a solution. But if you believe that there is a perfect solution that will just light your soul on fire and produce the life that you desire, then it'll be unlocked to you. And I fully believe that. So again, I am the business craftswoman helping home remodelers get home in time for dinner by managing their people, processes, and projects. So if you have any questions about operations and systems, I come from nonprofit and for-profit background. I love to talk shop. You can reach me at edithh.com. That's edithh.com, or follow me on Instagram, The Business Craftswoman. I haven't posted in a while, but I was just working on that before I got on here. So you'll be seeing more from me, but looking forward to connecting with y'all. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for being here, Edie, and enjoyed everything that everybody shared. So we're over to you, Kimberly.
So first, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the platform. Really, really important. And one of the things that I think of is what we are paid is not our worth. It does not equal our worth. And so when we think about it in that way, no's don't impact us the same way. Because someone turns down our offer or someone says they can't pay that's nothing about our worth. It's where they are at this particular time. And so today, my post on LinkedIn is where you can most often find me. I think it leads with, I don't make very much money. And I talk about what I make coaching versus what I made at my last job in industry. And we're talking 90 days versus 3.5 days is what the equal is. And it's nothing about my worth. It's about the value of my service and how it can positively impact others. And so my core service is my 90-day program where women faculty can learn and implement my 5-step method to achieving tenure, getting promoted, or getting paid what they are worth. Just a little hint, steps 1 and 2. Step 1 is clear the clutter, and step 2 is do a values alignment and assessment. So thank you for this opportunity. You can most often find me on LinkedIn. That's the platform I use the most. Or you can email me directly at catwellness, Kimberly Adams Tufts, catwellness2@gmail.com. Thanks so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for everything that you shared. And I love that your pay is not equal to your worth. I think a lot of times, we go a lifetime before we realize that. We do all these other things before getting things cleared up with our own internal value system. So I love that. So we're over to you, Aubrey. What are your final thoughts?
I just really appreciate being offered the chance to be on this show today. I didn't know what our topic was going to be. I didn't know what kind of questions were going to come up. And I just, I came and I showed up anyway, because I was like, hey, I'm going to be in a panel with a bunch of really high achieving people and get to make some great connections over here. So I just appreciate that. And yeah, my takeaway, I feel like I learned some things. I really appreciate getting to meet each and every one of you. Ashton, I have had some extensive history, like just knowing about the Special Olympics and being close to the Special Olympics. And so hearing your perspective on the Special Olympics, that there's a dark side, was really like helpful to me to know, like, to me, this has always been like a charitable organization that is doing right by everybody. And so like when I'm hearing, oh, they're actually exploiting people, like, oh, okay, I got to dig deeper on that. So thank you for helping open my eyes to that. And I saw some.
And hit me in the back channel and we will communicate. And that's all of you guys. When this show is over, put your comments in the show notes at the bottom or what have you. And I can start to communicate with all of you, because I want to work with any and everybody on here, authors, folks like that, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I was going to say that I saw some of the comments and on the other side over there, and I won't be able to respond now, but I do appreciate the audience chiming in and sharing comments and all of that. And just, this is a problem that is an ongoing discussion that myself and the clinical community and all the other therapists that I talk to, I'm not the only one who's talking about this thing. And it's something that, we're all trying to work through. There's a lot of legislation that's being advocated. There's a lot of things going on in the background that, like, I'm not the only one who talks about these things. So I appreciate the people that are, saying, hey, like, maybe you should try this or try that. Like, I appreciate that. And, it's an ongoing discussion. If people want to learn more about me, they can go to arttherapync.com. That's my website. Or they can email me. It's kindred@arttherapync.com.
Love that. My kids are in the background, so I saw y'all see they're coming over, talking and everything. So thanks so much for being here, Aubrey. And again, we're thinking about how we can make these connections and how we can talk about some of these topics, not just today on this broadcast, but keep that momentum. So Ashton, we're over to you. What are your final thoughts?
I'm going to have to drop off. I have a client at 3:00.
My final thoughts are is I want to, first work with you guys and get you guys in touch with my management company. And, I like this show because it really allows people like myself and others in a safe space to talk about the Special Olympics in a way, there's what we call constructive criticism. And I hope, we offer the balance. And that was, positive in my life as well. So I don't want people to just think that, that I'm just, speaking negatively on their organization. There was also good things that I must mention. And I also must mention this. Everything that I said here today is my opinion and my opinion only. The opinion expressed by the host, personnel, and other people, those are their opinions as well. We live in a free and open society called America, and the opinions expressed here today are those of the host and others. Thanks. You folks can also go follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and other sites, including YouTube. You can Google my story, Ashton Smith Special Olympics, to find out more. And you folks can also go get my book, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream, that is available in public spaces and public places, Amazon and Walmart today. I'm glad to be here at a show like this. It means a lot, because to be able to let the public know what is best and let them know what I offer, and what I offer to them is hope, stability, and truthfulness and honesty about my story. And that's what I hope the public gets from what I talk about. I am not here to demean or denigrate any organization, only to express the woes and the undergirdings of organizations. At the end of the day, I only speak the truth of what I know and what I've been through. My story is different from those who may have participated and been a part of in this disclaimer. I am grateful and I'm glad to be here. This has been a blessing and it has been a wonderful day, guys. Get on outside. Temperature today, 76 degrees, Dallas, Fort Worth, winds out of the south, and have a great time, you guys. I'm glad to be here and I hope to connect.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Ashton. I mean, this has really been a great conversation, and I appreciate everybody's transparency and honesty, because, you know, we have to be bold about a lot of these truths that are actually taking place, or beliefs, and, you know, changing the narrative. It takes having the courage to speak up and speak out about a lot of these issues. So appreciate everybody being here today. And again, we thank you guys. We encourage you to connect with each other. We want to say thank you to a lot of our audience members. We had Paul, Mary, Susanna. Let me see if I can kind of go through. I'm trying to do better, y'all.
Janice.
Dina, yeah. So we just thank everybody for Camille was here, for being here, for joining us in this conversation. This is very it just warms my heart to understand that people feel comfortable enough to share their thoughts and opinions. You know, that's how we all grow. So
the comments are lit. So I cannot wait to read some of these comments that people are writing. Thank you to the folks who wrote these comments. It means a lot to all of us. And I hope to come back on and connect with people day by day and week by week. You folks can find me under Golden Ashton as well online, and you'll see me. I'm glad to be here, y'all.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, all for joining us. And we appreciate you guys coming and connecting with us. And we look forward to having you guys come back again and join us. So we appreciate that. So, ladies, let's just, again, I'm so appreciative for our guests. And, you know, what are your final thoughts and takeaways? Raschell, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was good. It was good insight as to all the little bits and pieces everybody was sharing, because, you know, there is the niche, I think, was really important, understanding, but also the question that the audience posed, you know, what is your worth? Because like Misty said, and I have to be in the same kind of book with her, is that, you know, your worth is based on what you believe, and it's not always monetary. It's worth within you. So I think this was really good. It went in a little different directions, but there were some great comments made.
Love that. All right, Misty, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to say that the cattle came through while I was on here. So I was so glad that you didn't call on me, because it was such a ruckus going on. And I was like, of course. So my favorite thing that I heard today was the woman who said she didn't know what she was expecting to come on the show, and she just said yes, and she did it anyway. And so to me, my worth is me, constant and never ending improvement. So if I'm worth this today, what am I worth tomorrow with my gifts, with my talents, so that I can serve my audience that much better every day? And so I think the main thing is to keep your worth growing, not necessarily out of your reach, but just keep it, like we talked about, keep writing the story into the future, so that whatever you believe is keeping you from moving forward, if that gets out of the way, that big boulder that she talks about, if it just gets moved tomorrow, you're free to move forward rather being stuck in the story for a while. So I love that she said yes. And that was my thing. If you really want to network to increase it, Start saying yes to things that are slightly outside your comfort zone, and which could be coming on a podcast, writing with someone, writing in. That's what I do. I publish groups of people together. That's a way to step out. Meeting with a coach like LaChelle. Just take yourself and move a little bit out of your comfort zone and write that story and market yourself from that point of view, and push yourself, because then your passion will show again. That's my final 2 cents.
I love that. I mean, there were so many takeaways. I think, the whole thing for me is having the courage to talk about real issues. I think sometimes, we think, well, I don't want to be a downer, or, I want to be positive. But if we don't have these conversations, we can't make change. And so I think it's important to highlight some of the things, but also recognizing that it's solution-oriented thinking. When we have solution-oriented thinking, then we can come up with some ways that we can fill in the gaps in a way that's going to be beneficial for everybody. And you grow and continue to get better by having those conversations. So it's been wonderful. So what do you guys have going on this week?
Oh, that almost makes me cry. LaChelle is holding my baby, The Man in the Glass, A Quantum Love Story, my first solo book that came out this week. So I just want to quickly say, because it's about networking. Oh, thank you. That really is making my heart. I challenge myself to network my book the way I network the books that you guys have been in, because I will network work my authors that come and publish with me. I will network all day, all night. I don't eat, I don't drink, I don't sleep. I have to have someone manage me, because I will network you guys to make sure you're number one. And I didn't do that with my books in the past. I put them on Amazon and told a few people. So this was the first one I did myself. And there's some learning curve in the formatting, but I'm super proud of it. So, but I networked myself, and I challenged it to be uncomfortable to me. And so that's why I wanted to bring that home. So you held that up at the perfect time, because that was me holding myself accountable to what I just said to you guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I've got a couple journals that came out today. I think they'll launch this evening. And then we just started the next anthology project for anybody who might be interested. It's called My 2 Cents on Self-Love. It's just a bunch of authors coming together to do small chapters, and those will come out in July.
Love that.
Wow.
How about you, Raschell?
This week, I have some podcast recordings, and but just it's kind of getting myself back together after last week, because last week, as LaChelle knows, and you know as well, when you have a launch, it just kind of takes everything out of you, and then
It is like a birth. It is like having a baby. Yes. Every time I have to take a minute, I have to just detox for a day.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep it low, kind of, gather myself together and start again. So that's what.
Congratulations. Well, the show was great. I loved it. I watched it again. I loved your show last week. It was great.
It was great. A lot of fun. I mean, I love, the celebration, the work, the celebration, the work, you know what I mean? It makes it not as daunting. So I enjoy that. So I think for me, I have this week a new series, The Greatest Salesman in the World.
Yeah, great book.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing this.
I think that's with Paul, right?
Yeah, that's with Paul. So I'm excited, because I think, just the insights when it comes to business, again, we can get in our own way, second guessing. Should I be charging that? Maybe not. Do I need a partner? I mean, all these different things. And so I'm excited to get into that conversation. So that's Thursday at 9 a.m. But I'm so excited. This has just been a wonderful conversation. And I encourage everybody, again, to reach out. If you want to continue this conversation and want to be on the show, reach out to us. We would love to have you on, because I think we can never have too many conversations around what it is that we feel we're worth. I think that's important to really highlight that. So do you guys have any other final thoughts before we leave today?
Just keep writing what you want. Don't get stuck on what's bothering you. Keep writing the story you want to have see come true in your life. I love our panel today. Thanks, LaChelle, for having us and having such a great following.
And that good vibration of feeling good about what you're doing right now, being grateful for
Right.
what you have right now.
Yes.
And more things will start to unfold. I think that's another important key.
So true. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Reach out to our panel. Reach out to us. We would love to continue the conversation, and We wish you a wonderful, successful new month of May. May you continue to be prosperous and accomplish all the goals that you have set for yourself and your business. We'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.